Hello, everyone. I'm speaking in English, so I guess put your... thank you so much to FDN for inviting me here. My name is Rosa, and I work on the public policy team for Facebook, covering Europe, Middle East, Africa. And I work with my colleague Jakob, who is based here in Warsaw. And so we do have an office here in Warsaw. I'm actually going to talk a bit more broadly about safety and how we think about safety, particularly for young people online. And we really think that privacy and safety go hand in hand. I don't think you can have one without the other. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about our principles and the tools that we've built for people to stay safe online. I wanted to start, though, this morning by talking about our mission as a company, because I think that helps frame our principles and the tools that we build. And that's to give people the power to share and to make the world more open and connected. So there are just under 1.5 billion people using Facebook every month across the world, which is pretty incredible. And we had a really incredible number and a moment in August, late August, where 1 billion people used Facebook in one day, which was a big milestone for us. And also 13, so you can't see these numbers great, but 13 million people in Poland are using Facebook every month as well, which is fantastic. And then also just to give you a kind of scale of the kind of amounts of content that we see on the site, we have more than 300 million photos uploaded daily onto the site. So people are sharing things that they care about, they're connecting to people that they that matter to them, and to organizations and businesses that matter to them. And also, I think this is also a great stat. So more than 83% of people using Facebook are outside the US and Canada. And that's obviously a big part of Jakob and my job is making sure that those people are represented well within the company. So I wanted to talk a bit broadly about how we think about safety and what are the kind of tenets that we use when building the products, when writing our policies, when designing education campaigns with partners like FDN. And the first thing I think to start with is the policies, which I'll talk more about in a moment. But how do we write policies that will that matter and that kind of resonate with everyone across those 1.5 billion people from all sorts of different parts of the world, using it in lots of different ways? Secondly, how do we build tools to help people resolve problems for themselves, for each other? Thirdly, making sure that there is help available to people across the service. And partnerships to complement our expertise. We're the tech experts, but we're not necessarily always the experts in child safety and child protection, and that's why partnerships like the FDN one is so important to us. And then resources. We've made a really big concerted effort to build more resources in the last 2 years. I've been at Facebook for 5 years, and I think this has been the biggest kind of shift for us in the last 2 years, is writing more resources and building those in partnership with experts in the community. And lastly, feedback. That's why we're here. We're here to hear feedback about how we can do things better and differently. So firstly, policies. So as you can imagine, balancing the views and perspectives of over 1 billion people from across the world is very challenging indeed. And we want to do that alongside giving people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. But the way that we do this is through our community standards. And so we have a page which I would recommend you all check out, which is facebook.com/community standards. And this outlines the policies that we use to measure what we allow on the site. So, and this is for people to understand what rules govern the site. So this is what you can and you can't share. And there's a few things that I wanted to call out in respect to this. Firstly, you can't attack individuals, and that's really important for us, particularly when thinking about young people using the site. You may be able to talk broadly about a kind of an ideology or a principle that you disagree with, but you can't attack individuals based on that. And secondly, I wanted to call out the fact that we have a real name policy on our site. So you can't use Facebook using an anonymous or fake identity. And we know that was different. That's different in lots of different parts of the web. But for Facebook, we think that that allows accountability, and also I think is really the fundamental basis of using Facebook. You're connecting to people that you know in the real world and sharing information about yourself with those people. So it's important that that's authentic. Secondly is the tools that we've built. So we're lucky we have some of the best engineers in the world building these tools. And we actually have a fantastic safety engineering team based in London who we speak to regularly about the tools that they're building. But I think the first thing I wanted to call out is, and certainly in respect of this panel, is what are the privacy tools that we build to help people keep themselves safe? And this is the first sort of tenet of our safety principles, really. So you have the ability to share what you want with who you want on Facebook. You're not forced to share anything publicly, you're not forced to share anything privately, and you have the ability to choose that at every moment you share content. And then you can also go back. So if you shared something publicly and you've changed your mind, you're able to go back and change that at a later date. And also, I wanted to call out our activity log. So I don't know if anybody has checked out the activity log, but this is where you can actually restrict all, say, if you wanted to go back and restrict all of your public posts to friends only, you can do that in a really easy way. And this is also the same for mobile, and we've been working really hard to make sure that all of our mobile applications have the same privacy controls as desktop. And so before you post, make sure you look down in the audience selector and choose who you want to share that with. You can also choose to share different lists. So Jakob and I were talking last night about how we might have our bosses on a separate list so they can't see what we get up to the weekend, but we do want to be friends with them. So I'd recommend you check out the list options as well. Thirdly, I just wanted to talk a bit about how we think about how the community can help resolve problems. And the context to this is, for a long time we would get reports, often of photographs, where people were reporting them as hate speech to us. And they clearly weren't hate speech. It was a photo of two people, and perhaps what we figured out was perhaps that one of the people didn't like the way they looked in that photograph, and so they wanted us to take it down. But the photo didn't breach our community standards that I spoke about earlier, and so there's really not much that Facebook can do in that situation. Or, there might be an example of a young person reporting something on their page, say like somebody else has written "woof" on their timeline, and again, we don't have the full context for that. That may be a situation where someone is being bullied at school and they're regularly being called a dog, and so that fits in with the wider scenario of the bullying situation. So what we did was we built a tool called the social reporting tool that kind of really mirrors offline behavior of, I'm going to come and speak to you about that photograph that you put, and I don't like it and I don't want it there. So we built tools to help people do that easily. Or you can actually report to an older brother, say, or a teacher, or a trusted friend to ask for their advice on how to resolve the conflict. And this is really about, for us, trying to think about how we can build empathy into the product and help people understand how online behavior is similar to offline behavior as well. And just because you're behind a computer screen or a mobile phone, the rules that happen, the rules that we interact with one another aren't necessarily that different. So the other piece that I want to talk about is help. Obviously, there are situations when things do need to be reported to Facebook. So you can report any content to us directly to our community operations teams that are they're located across the world in 4 locations, and that ensures that we can get 24-hour coverage. And we escalate reports based on if there's likely to be real-world or offline harm. So those are the kind of reports that we would look at as quickly as possible within, say, 3 to 4 hours. We also escalate any reports from anyone under the age of 18, because we recognise that the implications there are likely to be bigger than perhaps for other adults. And I also wanted to say that we hire people to look at these reports. It's not just machines that look at them. And we hire people from across the world, and not just with language skills, but making sure that they have the kind of cultural context and understanding for different reports. So you can report on the content itself. I haven't included all of the screenshots that I normally would. But if you want to come and see Jakob and I, we can always give you a demo later. Or there's also special help center forms. Certainly for underage, so under 13 users, there's a specific form which I encourage you to use if you do know of any underage, under 13 children on Facebook. We also have a number of specific forms for things like suicidal users or other kind of issues that you might need to escalate to us. So the other bit I wanted to talk a bit about was the partnerships piece that I spoke about. So we have a global safety advisory board, which is made up of these organisations. And this board will give us feedback on products. They're meeting actually at the moment in our headquarters in California for a 2-day summit where they will give us feedback on upcoming products. And they really hold us accountable in terms of how we're building safety into the products that we're building. And then that obviously goes beyond just the board. We have a number of partners across Europe that we work with closely, including FDN, and really trying to build that out more. So if you know of any organisations that we should be working with, and particularly for education, I think that, and this hopefully will come out in the panel, is key for us. You know, we want to build more education projects. We want to make sure that the content and the information that we have is as useful and helpful for the audiences and community that use our site. So I was just going to call out a few resources that we've released quite recently. And this is the Think Before You Share piece of content, which I think has gone to over 1,000 schools across Poland. Is that right? With the thanks to FDN. And this is a guide for young people to talk through how you might want to think before you share, quite obviously, and certainly in light of the presentation earlier, you know, what's the consequences of sharing things online, and do you know, are you comfortable with knowing that everything you put online, who that's being seen by, and what are the kind of consequences of that? So I think we have printouts of that somewhere, so let us know if you would like some. The other piece that I wanted to call out is a Privacy Basics Hub that we released earlier this year, which is fantastic, and in all languages. And this is a really kind of 101 for your questions around not just privacy, but how Facebook works and how reporting works. So strongly recommend that you have a look at that. It's /about/basics. And it has some nice ways to kind of talk you through the different privacy tools that we have, as well as some of our safety stuff as well. And last year we launched something called our Bullying Prevention Hub. And what we found was, when speaking to experts in the community who were working with young people, we found that although kind of knowledge was high about what happens around bullying, but the resources and education piece was very lacking. So we worked with the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence to build this resource. And this isn't just about face bullying online, it's bullying more broadly. And it has some fantastic resources, such as things like conversation starters for how to know how to deal if somebody is being bullied, or if somebody is being accused of bullying, or if somebody is witnessing bullying. And these are all downloadable, and I know have been a really useful resource for teachers across the world. So again, that's /safety/bullying, but come and see us if you'd like pointing in that direction. So finally, just wanted to reiterate the feedback point. This is why Jakob and I come to conferences like this. We want to hear from you about how we can do things differently, as well as telling you about the work that we're already doing. So I look forward to hearing the questions coming up.
Okay, thank you very much.